All right, y'all, so something a little bit different this time. This is a Rossi R92 stainless chambered in 357 Magnum. And this is the very first lever gun that I have personally owned. And I bought this a few years back. I want to say like 2018, 2019, somewhere around there. Pre-COVID times, back when gun shows were a thing and you can actually get deals at gun shows. Remember those times? Me too. So yeah, I bought this at a gun show. This local guy there just, having his own local private sales, no big deal. And he had this rifle sitting on a table for about 500 bucks. And I thought, that's not a bad deal actually. Because I think the new ones for these are more than 500 bucks. And when I was inspecting this, it looked like he hadn't really put all that many rounds through it. And he told me as much too. He's like, yeah, I put maybe 100, 200 rounds through it at most, but it just wasn't his thing. So he decided he wanted to move it. So gave him the 500 and now it's mine. So this is patterned after the Winchester 1892 model, and you can tell by the two locking lugs there on the top, and also the general shape and design of this. I believe Rossi also chambers this in 44 Magnum in this format, and have all kinds of different models. You can get a blued model, you can get a short 16-inch barrel model, you can get the 20-incher, which I believe this is the 20-inch model, so it's a little bit longer. You can get big loops, you can get all kinds of different models that they offer now, and they've actually been starting to bring them into the country in greater numbers because Rossi is based out of Brazil. So Rossi, Taurus, kind of the same company overall. So you might be thinking to yourself, well, how good can a Taurus lever gun be, right? And I'm not going to say that this thing is 100% perfect because it's not. It has some glaring issues that I only became acutely aware of after owning and shooting this thing as much as I have. I've put about 600-ish documented rounds through this gun, mostly 357 Magnum, back when you could find 357 Magnum for a reasonable price, so I didn't feel too bad shooting it. But I have shot also a lot of steel case out of this gun, surprisingly, back when you could also find that. Real cheap crap, 38 and 357 Magnum Tula steel, the real cheap stuff. This thing actually ate it and shot it just fine. So I was actually quite surprised by that. I thought something in this action would choke up for sure with steel cased ammo, but it didn't. So that's pretty cool. But the positives, right? Let's start with those first. The positives are it's a freaking lever gun, man. These things are cool. And of course, I live in Arizona, so when in Arizona do what Arizonans do, and that is, of course, have single action Army revolvers and lever action rifles, right? It's part of the Great West, the Wild Wild West. That whole aesthetic, that feel, that vibe. It's very cool. Even though me being a Texas native myself, I can definitely appreciate some Wild Wild West shenanigans with me and my buddies out in the desert. Right? So it just feels nice to have a good lever gun. And anyone who has a lever gun knows exactly what I'm talking about when I mean. These things are just eminently practical. They're really, really nice to have. You can appreciate the craftsmanship quality and the engineering and things that really went into making these things what they are. I mean, heck, the 30-30 round is still used and very, very popular for a lot of reasons because the lever guns that they were chambered in are just good guns. So no exception with this one. I've had absolutely no issues, no reliability problems with this gun at all. It's just when it comes down to the finer points, when you really, really start to look very closely at some of the finishing and the edges and everything else with this gun is when it starts to show why it's so cheap, or should I say inexpensive. The accuracy that I got out of this, I haven't taken it to 100 yards yet because 357 Magnum I don't really consider a long-range cartridge, even out of a rifle like this, out of a 20-inch barrel. So the most distance I've shot it at has been 50 yards on paper. And if I'm sitting on a bench, I'm able to get right around a 2-inch group with average ammo using just the buckhorn iron sights on here. So not terribly impressive, but not super, super awful either. So, I mean, these things are never meant to be like super duper match target guns, and there's a reason why you don't see lever action guns being, well, target rifles, because the mechanics of this are not really suited for ultra precision accuracy. Now, you can get some very accurate lever guns, yes, but I think in general, mechanically speaking, a decent lever gun will be outshot accuracy-wise by a decent bolt gun any day of the week. So that's just the mechanics of it. I mean, there's a reason why these things went away in favor of bolt-action rifles, and why you don't see like hyper customized like MDT super lightweight aluminum chassis for lever action rifles, and why you see them for bolt action guns. There's a reason for that. So doesn't mean this rifle is not capable though, because the intended purpose, when you think about these things and what they were made for, right? This is supposed to be the adventurers, kind of cowboys, do everything rifle. Okay, you're supposed to be able to take this, shoot wildlife, shoot deer, shoot medium game, people, even if you had to, of the two-legged variety, right? That kind of dangerous game. You can certainly do that with this. And when you think about it, this is all people had back in the day, was just straight up iron sights on a lever action rifle. And they were pegging people off horses, you know, like 200-300 yards away even, you know, with much less powerful ammo at the time, like 38-55 or 44-40 rounds, which are significantly, I would say, not as powerful or as refined as modernized as like a 357 Magnum or a 44 Magnum, right? Or even a 33. So if those dudes can do that back then, if those cowboys, right, those hunters way back when can do that with straight up good old iron sights, then you can absolutely do that today too, with all the modern amenities that you have available to you. So the inherent mechanical accuracy not being as good as other guns does not detract from its practical application. So practical rifle, absolutely, 100%. The negatives I've had with this is, like I said, basically the overall refinement of this, and the biggest point I can bring up is the loading gate. So this loading gate is extremely rough around the edges. I mean, like, this thing is sharp, man. It's actually cut me a few times. So when you look at the edges, and it may not show up too well here because it's so freaking shiny, but all the edges around here are incredibly sharp. They are not refined at all. They're not rounded. So when I'm sticking my rounds into this port here and I'm jamming my thumb in there, after an afternoon, you know, of doing that about 100 to 150 times, my thumb is just, it looks like, you know, minced meat. It's terrible. It kind of hurts, uncomfortable, but it still works. It still feeds. You can still put rounds in there. It's just not very refined, and it's because, you know, like I said, Taurus Rossi is more of a budget-friendly brand, and it certainly shows on this. Now, I think this would make an excellent base for going to like your local gunsmith and saying, "Hey, man, I want the action kind of smoothed out on here. I want you to take it apart and just make it nice." You know, I know a lot of people who have done that, and I don't see a reason why you couldn't do that with a gun like this. Like, the metal all looks fine to me. It seems to be pretty decent quality. Like I said, I haven't had any issues with it. So yeah, the action itself is feels like a 92 action. So it's a little, it feels clunky in the sense that you can definitely feel when it's locking into place. And I think that's pretty common with any 92 action. I think even really with the nice ones, you could probably refine this, yes, but it is going to be kind of like clicky, because you can just kind of feel when it locks into place. Trigger is excellent, of course, because I have not seen a lever action gun that did not have a nice trigger, owing to its single action nature. So these triggers tend to be very good, which helps with accuracy. The other downside as well is I didn't realize that the rear sight design on this is not ideal, in the sense that if you look at the ladder right there, right? So let's see if I can adjust this. So you have to, this is basically a big leaf spring here. So you pull up here on the rear of the buckhorn here, and you slide this little elevator or ladder up. But if you can see the little notches there, they are not situated or designed in such a way that this rear sight locks in place in any way, shape, or form. So what happens is, when you get some 357 Magnum loads through this, the recoil actually just pushes the ladder back, just like that. And so your sight is resetting every single shot, which frankly to me is very annoying. You can get one shot, and then you have to go back here and you got to readjust it and blah blah blah, and you go shoot it, and then it just, you know, falls again. Very annoying. Kind of I'd say not a great design. I would think maybe this was supposed to be tighter or something from the factory. Maybe it's a Rossi QC issue. I don't know. Maybe it's always been an issue with 92 guns. I've never owned any other 1892 pattern rifle other than this one, so I don't know myself if this is just an isolated thing or if this happens all the time to everybody. But regardless, it's very annoying, and it kind of defeats the purpose of being able to have your quote-unquote adjustable rear buckhorn when you can't even use it more than one shot. So all elevation range for me for this rifle is absolutely Kentucky windage and just guessing. So not ideal, but like I said, this is never meant to be a target match rifle. For practical application, I'm pretty confident I could hit a medium-sized target at any distance if I knew my holdover and ammunition choices. So still a bit annoying that happens. For other things that kind of surprised me, I guess, about lever actions is I'm not going to say difficulty of maintenance, but lack of ease when it comes to maintenance. This is not like an AR where you punch the pins out and you just take the upper and lowers off and you're basically easy, super easy to clean, take apart. This thing, you gotta take out some screws, you gotta take the wood off here, you gotta take apart the bolt and everything, all the little pieces that go in there, and reassemble it just right. It's honestly a bit of a hassle. So I don't really clean this thing as often as I probably should. But then again, it is a manual operated action, so as long as there's not a ton of debris in the action that prevents this from opening and closing with sheer force and having a proper lockup, it's kind of hard to stop one of these. So it is a little more intricate, I think, in the pathways on the inside of the receiver for sure than say a bolt action track. So I mean, all that exposed action back there as well. It can definitely get gummed up with stuff. I mean, if you're traveling out in the desert and you, for some reason, have your action open, you shouldn't, and a dust storm happens, as they tend to do out here, you know, you can get some dust, dirt, sand inside the action, and that's no bueno. But, you know, if it's all closed up like this, I don't really think you're going to get a whole lot in there. I mean, there's maybe a little opening there on the bottom, but this is a nice closed system and owes to durability, ruggedness that you would need for an environment like out here in the desert. So I have had one issue with snap caps, of all things. 38 special snap caps, and I'm just kind of loading in here and just, you know, working the action and firing the trigger and just testing it and everything. Those things don't play nicely with the follower spring in the magazine tube for this gun. I don't know why, because you think it's just the same dimensions as the 38 special case, but I've had instances where I've had to actually dismantle the entire magazine tube to get those dummy cartridges out of the tube. They just wouldn't feed for some reason. So very strange that it can get caught up like that with snap caps of all things, but minor issue, I think. Shooting this thing is absolutely a ton of fun. I mean, like I said, everyone I think should have a nice lever gun of some sort, even if it's just like a 22 or something. But I mean, heck, I love my Henry 22, for instance. That thing's freaking awesome. You know, just a total blast, really pleasure to shoot. Even with high-powered 357 Magnum loads, this thing has like almost no recoil, and it's very quiet actually, because you know those are pistol rounds. They're designed to be shot out of barrels that are maybe 6 inches. You know, but this one's 20, so all that powder has all that time to burn. You get your higher velocities, you get a lower rapport, almost no recoil because this thing weighs quite a bit. I mean, it's all steel, so really not bad at all. And then with 38 special loads like this, you can absolutely get some ultra low recoil, low rapport. I mean, great for new shooters, great for recoil sensitive types. I mean, it almost feels like a 22 in some cases, but you're still sending a 38 special round down range, so that's pretty cool. Also, of course, with the shorter dimensions of a 38 special, you can fit more in this tube over your 357 Magnum, so that's pretty awesome. One thing I like to do or practice with these is the practice of single loading. So when you're all out of ammo in your magazine tube and it's empty, one thing I like to do is take individual cartridges, you know, and I will try to be as quick as I can to drop the drop the case, the round, into the chamber, close it, go back and fire a shot. Put another one in, close it, and do it again. That's one thing I really, really like to do. It just feels fun to be fast and do it like that, like single loading. I don't know why. It just gives me a lot of physical or kinematic pleasure. There you go, technical term. It just feels cool. I just like doing it. It's fun. You can sit there all day and just take your tube and just go through the whole thing and just blast through your magazine. I mean, yeah, anyone can do that. But it takes a lot of skill and practice to be able to quickly single load, close it, get back on target, boom, shoot, and keep doing that. It's like practicing your double action trigger pulls on pistols, right? Not a lot of people do it, but you probably should. Get the repetitions in and the rapidity of motion and accuracy too, right? So you can be better at it. Yeah. Another small minor gripe that some purists will say is not awesome is the top mounted safety here, and you can see that in the bolt, that little nub right there at the F. That is a safety, and I gotta admit, I'm not the world's biggest fan of it either. And there's unsafe, because it looks kind of too modern. It looks gaudy. It looks like an afterthought, and frankly, it functions like an afterthought too. I don't have a lot of faith in this safety holding up over time. And I'd really rather just get like a safety delete for it, so I don't have to worry about it. And I've also seen some companies that make aftermarket parts for these guns that actually make a rear peep sight that goes into the freaking safety hole here, which I thought was kind of crazy. Because you think about it, how else are you going to mount an optic on this kind of rifle when the top of the receiver is your ejection port, right? Now the Marlin designs don't have this problem because it's all shrouded up here at the top. So they can mount optics normally, but this one you can't. So you have to get a little creative with mounting optics on a 92 pattern rifle. That doesn't mean it's not possible though. I've seen some very creative solutions to putting like red dots and rails and all kinds of fancy modern things on these kinds of rifles. I don't really think you need to do that though. If you really, really want to, the option is out there for sure. I just don't think it's necessary. Because practically speaking, like I said earlier in the video, you can absolutely do any kind of practical application you need to with just the simple irons. Or at least you should be practiced enough to the point where you can. So anyway, thought I'd share this with y'all because I really, really dig this gun. I've not been shooting it a lot lately because 357 Magnum is so hard to find these days. And gosh, it is like crazy expensive. So I have to decide between like, do I add to my stockpile? Do I shoot the ammo I have? Do I really want to spend $50 on one box of ammo for 357 Magnum? Oh, I mean, at $1 a round, I'd rather be buying like 8mm Mauser or 308 or something like that. I just feel like I'm getting more bang for my buck, literally speaking. So yeah, and then I also have to decide too, this is 357 Magnum I'm shooting. I could be shooting that in some of my revolvers instead and getting some revolver practice rather than, this. So I have much more capable fighting rifles than this for sure. But it's 357 Magnum in a pistol format. It's not exactly as common or as easy to find as say a 9mm pistol 45. So I really have to weigh my options here and decide where I want to put my shots, But no one can deny a lever action is a ton of fun. They're ultra practical. I mean, they're slim, they're durable, they're rugged. They've been popular for a reason, and they still exist to this day for a reason. So, and for good reasons, I think. But yeah, this is just a arguably probably not a budget option now because I've seen the prices for these things go through the freaking roof lately. I've seen some of the nicer models of these go for like, $1,000, $900, which is like, yikes. But I love it for what I bought it for the price and everything. So I have fun with it. I enjoy it. That's really all that matters, right? And it's just cool because, like I said, if you're in Arizona, you got to do it. You got to have lever action. You got to have a cowboy gun of some kind. Just to have fun, get in the spirit of things. Go out in the desert and go shoot some stuff, right? So anyway, that's all I got to say about that, and we'll see you next time.